Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, and I'm here tonight for the Pulpwood Academy online book club with a favorite author of the Pulpwood Queens. His name is Wade Rouse, and he is here live. I'm so excited. I hope we started a little late. We were talking so much, but I want you all to know that he writes as Viola Shipman. He's got lots of fabulous books. I can't wear a charm bracelet or get out my grandma's recipe books or the little box with all the recipes or do any gardening without thinking of Wade. So without any further ado, I'd love to introduce you and just tell them a little bit about yourself, because this is being recorded. And after the show is over, I will be putting it on my Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel so you can share it, Wade, with everybody in the world. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And you've got a special guest.
Cheers.
I'm drinking coffee to stay.
And I'm not. So I'm way ahead of you on this one. Yes, I have. Okay. First of all, I have to say how much I adore you. And we go back now almost a decade, which is insane.
I know. Isn't that, and it seems like just the other day, because that was an iconic girlfriend weekend, the circus one that you came to.
It was the best ever. I have to say, you authors talk about the girlfriend weekend and what to expect, because if you don't go, you have no idea. And you're like, okay, we're dressing up, what's going on? And it is beyond anything you could ever imagine. And the one we went to, I think it was, my God, 2011 was, I think, the best one ever. Not only dressed up circus themed, it was 80s prom, which...
Well, that was because so many of my Pulpwood Queens said they never got invited to prom. And I'm kind of a champion for the underdog. And I go, I'm sorry, that's really shitty that you didn't get to go to prom. So let's have a prom party and crown a prom king and queen. And, I've always felt like that, we have to celebrate those of us who usually have our nose stuck in a book, no matter what we're reading. And I wish I had your book here right now. I've got to get a copy. I used to get those. Heirloom Garden. It's gorgeous.
That's the newest.
It's beautiful. And the covers on all your books are just so inviting, makes everybody want to come in, because we're all right now feeling very nostalgic.
No, that's exactly right. I think, more than anything right now, we are looking for books that allow us to escape. And for me, you mentioned, all of my novels are written under my grandmother's name, Viola Shipman, because to me, it's the smallest thank you I can give to her and all of my elders for all they did for me. And, we've talked about this long, long ago, but all of my grandparents were working poor. My grandpa Shipman was an ore miner. My grandma Shipman was a seamstress who stitched overalls until she couldn't stand straight. And they sacrificed for all of us to have a better life. And, I would not be sitting here right now talking to you as a published author had it not been for everything that they did for me. So, my novels really are inspired by my grandmother's heirlooms, but, they really are meant to remind us all, as we know now more than ever, of what's most important in life. And that is friends and family and our health, and that the sun rises and the sun sets, and that we have more in common than that divides us. So I've been, it's been beautiful, the reception these books have gotten. But I have to say, your girlfriend weekend connected me not only with so many wonderful readers, but also with authors that are still my best friends, like Heirloom Garden and Tina
Oh my
Sloan.
gosh, I just interviewed her and I love her so much.
She's the writer's writer. She is the kindest human being in the world.
And her articles that she's writing now for that.
Oh, they're amazing. They really are. Psychology Today, they're amazing. And Tina Sloan, Tina Sloan is, I love.
She was here last year, and oh my gosh, I'm telling you, she is a trip. She lives in Florida now. And I said, so you're in Florida? And she goes, no, I'm not, Kathy. I'm on an island off of the coast of New York. And are you in Wisconsin?
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay. Because so everybody I've interviewed, I said, and they're all the way in Palm Springs, because you have a home there too.
And I'll be going to Palm Springs soon.
No, I'm not. I'm in Michigan, and every single author I've interviewed. So, Ricky, you're over in Louisiana. No, I'm in
No,
Oklahoma at my mom's, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I got to quit introducing and telling people where they're from because they're not. You're not where I normally think of you being. I don't know why I thought Wisconsin. Of course, it's Michigan.
it's right next door.
But the Michigan book that you wrote about when you bought your home there, and the story about going out to empty, this is my favorite, personal favorite in my little repertoire. The cover is, show it one more time because it's absolutely, it's what hooked me. Okay, you see this little raccoon and he's looking at this lamp. Okay, you got to tell the story.
So we moved, as you know, essentially we moved from the city to this little resort town, but we live on 7 acres out in the middle of nowhere. And we moved in February thinking that we would kind of channel Thoreau and it would be very, lovely and easy and nice. But I learned that in the country, if you take the garbage up, be very careful because raccoons tend to stay there, and one leapt out and like jumped on my head and bit me, which was how I start this memoir about living in the country. And I have to say, I left out some of the not so funny stuff like rabies shots and things like that, but it was but you know what, they're cute,
They are.
but not when they're on your head.
No, and they're not cute when they're rapping on your windows every night.
That's exactly
and
right.
Going, when are you going to feed me? And I mean, loud, and a whole family shows up.
They're
When I first
aggressive.
moved, they're aggressive.
They're aggressive. So it's really interesting because as you know, I wrote humorous memoir before I started writing fiction. And now I'm kind of going full circle because I haven't even announced this yet, but I have another memoir. My first memoir in a decade will be out next year from Hanover Square Press. So I'm really excited. So
oh my gosh.
I have 3 books out next year and then 2 the following year.
Oh,
2 novels.
We've just got to get you on the program. Got to get you on the program, Wade. I mean, this is going to be big news to the Pulpwood Queen. So do we have titles?
All I do is drink and write.
Well, isn't that what all authors do?
That's all. That's true.
That's why we partnered with Breathless Wines because, book clubs, I'm a big coffee drinker, but a lot of my book
I am too.
they have a glass of wine. And so when I got approached to partner with them, I had no idea. 3 sisters, opened this winery in honor of their mother. And then they got Winery of the Year, and Forbes did a huge feature on them. And so they're like, and they've been having fires burning all around them. And oh my gosh, they've had quite a time. But they've been terrific to us, giving us a place to showcase our authors. And they're pretty special. They're pretty special people. So I'm very happy. And such a fantastic wine too, by the way. I've got a couple of bottles in the fridge.
I actually will call and get some. One of my favorite things I've been doing is calling small wineries that I think need support and ordering some like a case or a half case and either keeping it all myself or giving it to friends who need it just as much as I do.
It's sometimes hard to part with because it's pretty good wine, let me tell you. So Winery of the Year. But anyway, so good for you that you're having your wine up in Michigan. And is Michigan known for wine country?
It actually is. It's Northern Michigan is actually, we live by a winery, which is very good. So more kind of whites because of the cold temperature. But Northern Michigan, Traverse City, Suttons Bay, Glen Arbor, has become huge wine country. And today's show named it as one of the best kind of wine centers in the US right now. So and Madonna's father lives there. He has a winery that they've invested in and has done quite well. Black Star Farms is one of the best wineries in America. It's huge wine country.
Well, just down the road from me, we have a lot of wineries, but we have Miranda Lambert has her own wine, and she's like 15 minutes this way. We've got Enoch Stomp. We've got Los Pinos. We've got Keepersall over in Tyler. We've got them all. Texas has tons of wineries.
I love it.
It's a lot of fun. So I'm excited about it. But let's talk about your new book, because for those that don't know, you have a new one out. It's the Heirloom Gardener, which in Texas, everybody's working on their master gardening. I mean, it's like I've never seen such beautiful landscape yards during the coronavirus because
I,
people are out working in their yards.
it's really interesting. So we're kindred spirits. I wrote when I started writing this book. A lot of people ask what inspires a book. Is it an heirloom of my grandmother's characters? And for me, it's always a question. And for this one, it was what isolates us from the world and what brings us hope again, which became even more surreal and impactful, this year, of course. And my grandmother was a grand gardener. She was amazing. She not only grew flowers, she grew vegetables, because growing up in the Depression, they always felt they needed food at hand in case something happened. And, as I say in Michigan, we still have my grandmother's peonies that she started in the Ozarks. My grandmother had the most beautiful scented peonies, which is my favorite flower. And she
I
hung
love those flowers, and they don't have them here.
Uh, and
I
she hung
know.
laundry lines over rows of peonies so that the sheets, when I stayed there, smelled like them. And a lot of the novel is inspired by her and my memories of gardening with her. But it's about two women a generation apart that have been really affected by World War, the Iraq War and World War II, the loss of those they loved, and they've isolated themselves from the world, and they reconnect through a garden of flowers. And it's interesting because it was the 75th anniversary of World War II. Going through what we are with COVID, people are gardening again. They
Yes,
are
big
they
time.
want they need a place of peace. They need a place of beauty, whether it be flowers or vegetables. Um, it's become hugely popular again. So the book seemed to really hit a note and resonate with people on a even much deeper level than I ever anticipated.
I'm going to share with you. My grandmother could grow anything. In fact, she gave me a plant that was in the hardest dirt I've ever seen in my life that grew forever until I moved away from Kansas. But she had pennies going down her sidewalk.
Uh,
And do you know when they were in bud, she would cut them, put them in wax paper, wrap them in saran wrap, wrap them in foil, and put them in the deep freeze. In the winter, she would bring them out and thaw them out and put them in vases, and we'd have pennies in the winter.
that's
People don't
amazing.
believe me. I didn't know you could do that. And I go, what is this? Because, I used to love to look at all the weird packages of, they also butchered their own meat, tongue. They had all kinds of weird, I love to read what was on the packages, pork chops, tongue, sweet bread, which you know what that is.
Oh
Then
yeah.
there'd be this long silver thing, and I go, what's in that? She goes, oh, that's just my pennies for this winter.
Wow. It's amazing but to me, I think that flowers bring up such visceral memories for all of us. It's the scent, the color, the story, the memory that's associated with it. And the novel's centered around a different heirloom flower. Each chapter kind of resonates around that, and it's been amazing. We have 7 acres here in Michigan, and about tons of it are cottage gardens. So many of the flowers are from my family, and it's just, to me, it tells a story that will never end. It's a legacy.
Do they do lots of flowers like bachelor buttons and hollyhocks and
Yes. So, and it's interesting because that's another one of my favorite flowers is hollyhock, which I
me
have,
too.
which I have, and I talk about. My grandma made hollyhock tea, and I have the recipe. It's a simple recipe, but I have it in the novel as well, and it's one of my favorites. But my grandma always said, hollyhocks loud. They always, because they rose above everything, and she had a story attached to every single flower. So that's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's so cool. I miss that, and lilacs and
Uh,
all the flowering bushes. We don't have, I mean, we have holly trees and pine trees and yucca. We've got all kinds of weird now palms going because everything's shifting
Yeah.
The climate, where, I mean, pine trees and palm trees in the same yard. It's bizarre. And it's kind of like parts of Florida. But, I think you're going to definitely get a lot of people on with this story, especially if you've got recipes, and we all love our grandmother's recipes. Of course, you did the
Yeah.
recipe box, and you did the charm bracelet, which I have. Yes, I love the covers. I love the cover.
Beautiful. It's interesting. I do a Wine Words and Wade every Thursday night at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it's just a way to connect during this time when we can't do book tours with readers. And it's been amazing. It's a literary happy hour. I have my wine, we talk. So now I'm on my second hour of wine. But the amazing thing is just the connections that we have and the stories. This is a way for all of us to be together if we can't be there in person and hug one another. And it's amazing the connections we have to our families and our grandmothers and our histories. And, as I was saying earlier tonight, I talked a lot about legacy tonight. It's not just the object of the charm bracelet that I've written about or the recipe box. It's the fact that those things tell the story of our families. My grandparents being working poor, my grandmother's charms, they each tell a story of, a hope or a dream or a place they wanted to travel or had been. And, that informs me to this day. It makes me a better person. And as I always say, if someone walks into a library or maybe even a bookstore long after I'm gone and they get a Viola Shipman book, and it reconnects them. They understand the reason I chose her name as a pen name, and they understand the backstory. Then they ask a question of their family, then my work is done. I hope that's my legacy, because we need to be reminded of that more than ever these days.
Well, it's like anything. It's all about the story and the story behind the story. Like during this time of COVID, with me being able to talk to you in person and
Yeah,
hearing the personal stories, I I honestly think this is the best thing. We talked about this earlier. This is the best thing in the world that could happen, because now we have a connection to the author of who they are and where the story comes from, and it's our shared stories that create this community of empathy, of kindness, of
yeah.
loving one another, even though we may be from different parts of the world, come from different cultures, different backgrounds, different religions, yes, different politics. Um, all of these things, if once we get to know the person, anybody that acts ugly, I always think, what's their story?
Yeah,
Because they're usually, it's something happening that has nothing to do with the conversation. They're,
you're exactly right. What happened? I always say that's the reason. It's interesting. That's one of the reasons I love to write fiction, is because I always call it the ghosts on the shoulders. When you meet someone in person, like you said, that is maybe not so kind or is too aggressive, you wonder what happened. And in fiction, you can explore those ghosts that we often don't get to see in people we meet in real life. But you can get that backstory in characters and protagonists and novels. And I love that. It's a way to show why we are the way we are.
it's true. And now with all these, they're doing all these master classes with authors. Like I was listening to one with my daughter. Neil Gaiman's one of her favorite
Yeah,
authors.
yeah.
And he was
Well,
talking about the story and why it's so important that we read fairy tales and everything, because they're cautionary tales. He goes,
yeah,
of course, there never was a Little Red Riding Hood. And she would have never gone, Grandma, what big teeth she had. She would have gone, there's a wolf in my grandma's clothes, and ran. But the power of making up lies to make these stories teach us oftentimes more than real life stories. But
yeah.
I happen to like the real life stories too, because I always want to know, okay, what's the story behind Wade? And you've got a new memoir coming out. Do we have a title yet for your memoir?
We're still going around and around for that. So we don't have one yet. So it's
Oh
coming.
gosh, I can't
I know.
wait. I can't wait.
I'm
So,
excited. I'm excited. Yeah, I've got this coming year. I've got my new novel, The Clover Girls. It's about four best friends that meet at a northern Michigan summer camp. It's all about why childhood friends lose touch with one another, and it's an ode to childhood dreams. I really love it. It's coming out in May, and then I have my first winter novel coming out in October called The Lake Effect. So it's a story
Okay.
about it. It's a
So,
lot, and then a trilogy of Christmas stories that are coming out as well.
so what is your story on how much do you write a day? My
It's in,
gosh.
it's I told my agent this has been the biggest blessing and curse in my life, because I don't know, it's interesting because I don't know if any other year I could have accomplished as much as I'm doing, but I don't go anywhere, and I just wake up, wear the same robe and drink coffee. And I just, I'm very routine oriented though. So I try to get about 6 good hours of writing in every day before you do the
That's,
rest, kind of the
that's
business of the day like this. But I'm very regimented. I was a former journalist, so I'm good at a deadline. I stay on task, but I don't want to do this again. Way too much going on, but it's good.
we all need a timeout because uh, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm a people person. So I love coming into my house and being able to just,
Yeah.
I live in my pajamas. I mean, I dressed up for tonight, but I live in my pajamas. I haven't had makeup on in months. I haven't done my hair, and it's freeing because you can concentrate on the work. And
Sure.
just like you said, I've gotten more work done during this time of the COVID social distancing than I've ever done in my life. I have to laugh because people go, "Oh, so now are you retired?" And I go, "No, no, 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 no." Um, can anybody really retire these days? I don't think so. I think we are in a culture now where we work at something we love until it's time to go. You
No,
know,
you're exact. And do you know what? I think that is the philosophy for life. I truly do. Find, and I talk about this a lot in writing workshops. We grow up too many of us grow up shackled by fear. You know,
absolutely.
we're scared to pursue our passion. And we're told it's not going to work. We'll never make money. Don't be an author. Don't go into art. It's not going to happen. And, that carries over even when we try. When I started to write, I'm like, I'm never going to make a dime. I should go
What's
mow
your
the lawn.
backup plan? People always
I
say,
know
"What's your
exactly.
backup plan?" And my backup plan was always cutting hair. And and I really resented cutting hair because all I ever wanted to do was be an artist. But then, I realized as I got older that cutting hair is an art.
It is an art.
And and I got really good at it, and color and cuts. And I'm really proud of a lifetime of giving me that opportunity to express myself in that way, and it comes out in everything I do. But at the same time, you know I decided, after my divorce, I was going back to school, and I was going to finish 7 universities. 43 years later, I got my art degree. And I'm telling you, I'm now 64 and been supporting myself meagerly, but been supporting myself since I graduated, by kind of juggling all these balls. But everything I do, I love. You
It's
know, I love creating the art. I love writing. I love helping authors. And somebody said, "Well, you're quite a salesperson." And I go, I don't consider myself a salesperson. I consider myself a person who is, in service to others,
hmm,
because books save me. So promoting your books and promoting all my Pulpwood Queen and Timber Guy authors' books is my way of thanking all the people who write these great stories for giving me a purpose in life. And that's what it is. It's a purpose and it's an interesting thing, and I know you know this, but the more you think you're helping others, you're really helping yourself.
it's true. It's true.
Because every
I,
time I read a book, I read something into it that helps me. And I think, oh, here I'm trying to promote this author's book, but I learned this about myself. So I encourage everybody to write their story, because if you write your story down, you find out who you are.
you're
So good for
exactly right.
you doing those writing workshops. I'd love to sit in on one of those, because you cannot learn enough, be a
I,
lifelong learner.
I believe, I, authors all use the same tool belt. It's not like we use different language or words, but it's how we tell the story that sets us apart and makes it unique. And we all are given, I believe we're all given gifts by God. And, we have a unique voice in our head that talks to us every day. I don't care if you're an author, an artist, an engineer, a doctor, whatever. Work at 7-Eleven, you have a unique voice that talks to you. And what we're taught over the majority of our life is that it's better to fit in. It's better to conform. It's better to water down that voice because it's easier to go along with everyone else. And by doing that, you lose the voice and the gifts that God has given you that makes us special, that allows us to change the world. And that's what I try to do. That's what I tell writers to do. Listen to this. It's why you have it, and respect that and honor that. And that's what will make you different with whatever you create. And you do learn through writing and through reading. And I have to say, one of your greatest gifts too is I believe you are one of the world's most amazing connectors of souls. We were
Oh,
talking, before we went on,
Kleenex,
I was telling you, people that you introduced me to a decade ago, you may think it's happenstance. I don't think it is, have become dear friends. Carolyn Lovett, she not only became a friend, she helped me with my first novel. I mean, she is a main reason this book was as good as it was, and a main reason that it got published. You talk about Tina Sloan. She is a person that's buoyed me personally over the years because she's such a good, positive human being. So you connect all of us, and you should never forget that either.
I have somebody that reminds me of it every day. So when I get into I've been in this house too long, and I get a call from somebody, like I heard from Marilyn Simon Rothstein today, and they give me the old pep talk, and they say, do you know what you did for me? And I just, I don't really, it's just something I do. And I don't feel like it's me. I think it's God working through me. No matter what your religion is or what everything, I think we are all given something, a purpose to do. And it's our job to find out what that is. And it took me forever to figure out my job. And I was a pretty good mom. I have 2 daughters that are grown. You would not believe, I have a grandson. He's adorable. But I'm so proud of them because they are everything to me. And I just was with my oldest one for Halloween because, I didn't want to miss my grandson's Halloween. He went as an entomologist. He's 20 months old. And we all went as, I was an entomologist, but his parents went as bugs. And Toby was a praying mantis, and Lainey was a beetle. And people always look at us and they go, where do you get these ideas? And they go, well, Mom had us dressing up. Halloween was a big day at our family house.
I love Halloween too.
I love it because it gives us a time. People go, oh, well, it's, goes back to pagan time. I go, Halloween is a time for children to dress up and play.
It lets us be kids again.
Yeah.
In our little resort town, we have a huge adult Halloween parade. I mean, this town in the winter it's not many. Everybody leaves. All the summer people go away. It's like Cape Cod. But on Halloween, they have about 10,000 people that crowd downtown at 10:30 at night for an adult Halloween parade. And I have to say, I'm really pleased. Gary and I we were Vegas showgirls. And you know how much we love to dress up. And this year we were going to be mermen. We were going to be mermaids. And we were lit and it was beautiful. But next year, it's on hold.
Well, I think the best costume I saw this year was a family from a young woman from Jefferson and her husband now in Dallas. The two kids went as tigers and her husband went as the Tiger King. And she went as Carol, the flower hippie.
Carol Baskin.
Oh my God. I was just on the floor. I go, that's brilliant. That was just absolutely, I thought one of them, and they did not look anything like themselves. It was just, it's fun to play dress up. We need
to. It is fun. We need to. And you allow people as adults to do that. And that's what we love.
Carolyn, when I interviewed her, she said, when I first came to the first girlfriend weekend, I thought, I just don't know. And she goes, the minute I walked in the door, I go, this looks like it's going to be fun.
That's exactly right.
She just embraced it. And what she's gone through to get there, a couple of times, it was just tragic how long it took her to get to me because her planes got delayed, and then she got to the airport and all the rental places were closed and no car. And finally, her and another author that they met at the airport rented a limo to get to us. And it's just a priceless story. But the stories behind the stories are what we put in our book. The Pulpwood Queen celebrate 20 years because there's fiction, nonfiction, essays, poems. I mean, Pat Conroy's brother wrote a poem for me. They're just priceless stories. And Susan Cushman edited it. And it was published by a little publisher that I love, Brother Mockingbird. And Robert Hicks wrote the intro, and Jonathan Hote at the Pat Conroy Center wrote the afterword, and Nicole Seitz did the cover. But I wanted a book that was really not about me, but about the stories of authors meeting authors. Nothing thrills me more than I see, say, you talking to Christy Woodson Harvey, or River Jordan and Shelley Rushing Tomlinson going on tour together. They met at Girlfriend Weekend. I just go, that would have never happened if they hadn't have met, at Girlfriend Weekend. So it gets me really excited.
And I have to say, that's the really, the silver lining out of this year has been, and we were talking about this, has been this. I have gotten to know more authors and more readers on a deeper level than I probably would have going on a 30-city tour, because you show up. I do miss hugging, and I miss all of that. But it's nice to be able to spend quality time and talk to readers, hear comments, talk to other authors for 30 or 40 minutes, and actually get to know them on a much deeper level. I mean, that has been an author supporting authors this year. Oh, never seen anything like it. We have reached out and supported and held each other up. And that's, I think that will continue going forward. I think you're going to have two streams going forward. We're going to go back to touring, but we're also going to do this. This will never stop, and that's lovely.
I agree. I don't think it'll stop either, because it's so, in a way, it's a little bit more personal. I mean, just to sit behind a table and sign books, even Pat Conroy, he wouldn't ever let anybody just come up and sign a book. He had to talk to him, and he'd make people wait for hours, just so he could get to know the person he was talking to. And I think that we could all learn from his lesson. So generous,
You know what? That's I have a real, that is one of my biggest things at book events. If I believe that people, if they've shown up and taken the time from their busy schedules, work, family, caregiving, whatever it may be, they are there for a reason. And it's important to take the time necessary to greet them and to talk to them and to get to know them, and to sign their book in a special way. Just don't put your signature, but do something that's meaningful to them that they will remember from then on. That's one of my big things, and I will make people wait, and I do not care, because they're there for a reason. Everybody deserves a moment.
They do. They absolutely do. So, my gosh, you've got all these other books coming out. So, I just went to Arkansas not too long ago with my cousin on a road trip, and I thought about you.
You're in my territory, growing up territory.
Do you go back home to Arkansas now much, or do you?
My dad passed away in 15. So, but I still do. I have a lot of friends there. I was back in Joplin, Missouri, which is Southwest Missouri,
Yeah.
the year before last, and stayed and did a book event and saw people and have plans. I kind of want to go. My parents used to go to Hot Springs, Arkansas to the horse races every spring, which is one of my favorite things. So I'm thinking I might want to do that once all this passes and kind of re-celebrate
Well,
that.
I went to Kansas to stay on my friend's ranch, and my cousin said, "Hey, I I'd like to go to Branson." I go, "Missouri? Why?" And she goes, "Well, I haven't been there in a long time. Have you been there?" And I said, "For senior trip in high school." I go, "To Silver Dollar City, and look, you got to go.
Fire,
It's so
honey.
different now. There was nobody there, and they had this pumpkin lighting thing that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. It was like Disney World, and there was nobody there. Everybody was social distancing, and we just had the park to ourselves. And I've never had more fun in my life. I even rode a roller coaster. These two guys were in line, and his partner wouldn't ride with him because he said the Dramamine's not working. I said, "I'll ride with you." Whoa. I was just like, he said, "It's really smooth." And
Yeah,
I got on the ride with this guy, and
honey, that's what they always say.
it was a steampunk roller coaster. And so
Huh?
we're spinning upside down as we go down. I got off of there, and I was just like, and his friend goes, "How was it?" And I go, "Just a minute. I don't think I'll ever eat again." But what was funny was his partner, when my cousin stayed with him and while we rode the ride, found out that her daughter-in-law's the guy's brother went to high school with her daughter-in-law's sister. And we were just like, "Oh my God." Here we are in Missouri. We're from Kansas. I live in Texas. And we still made a connection. And it was,
6 degrees.
I'll never forget those guys as long as I live, because that was quite a ride. Let me
So
tell you.
really, truly, we went to Branson before it was Branson because I used to go there
Dirt
all
road?
the time.
Did
Oh
it
my
have,
God, we would go to the lake, and then we would go to Silver Dollar City. And Silver
yeah,
Dollar City then was really just, it was adorable but very quaint, but it was really just like kind of the old Americana craftsmen. They
yeah,
dipped candles
yeah.
and they made
Rhinestone.
everything. They sliced soap. That was the big thing. So we would go to see all, and we're like, "Ooh, it's old timey." And then the only ride they had was Fire in the Hole. So I would get on Fire in the Hole, and you would start out, and you would go in, and there'd be like you were in a mine, and they'd have
I
the
rode
canary
that
that
ride. I rode
the
it.
canary would fall dead in the little cage, and then you all of a sudden you'd go down into nothing. So I love Silver Dollar City. I have to go back. I will re-explore that.
It's nice. I mean, it is really nice. And the artisans there, in fact, I have on all this jewelry I got from these
I
artisans.
love that. I love the ring on your middle finger, the big ring,
Oh,
the
I got
long.
that at Girlfriend Weekend. But
That's beautiful.
this one I got at Silver Dollar City from this beautiful jewelry maker. I bought two of her rings. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. But then we went on to Eureka Springs.
Love
And
Bertha Springs.
well, what was bizarre was there was nothing open. Nothing.
Uh,
And it was like a ghost town. But we ate in this little Indian restaurant, which was like 4 tables. It was so much fun. And we just had a ball, and we just did this big loopity loop trip around. Then I went back to Eureka, Kansas, then drove home. But I had a great time, blew out the cobwebs for a while. And honestly, we didn't see that many people. But I wondered if you go back home, because there's nothing more beautiful than Arkansas. It's beautiful.
there's nothing more beautiful. And that's my grandparents lived in Arkansas for a long time. The little log cabin that I grew up going to, my grandma and grandpa Rouse had a log cabin right on the Arkansas border on Sugar Creek, middle of nowhere. It didn't have indoor bathroom, no telephone, no microwave, no TV. And I spent all my summers there from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And, was just set in the middle of a bluff by an ice cold creek, and that's my transformative summers with my grandparents. So I will never forget that. And it's really interesting because my grandparents sold that cabin when they got older. And I
Oh,
did, I did a book event in Joplin, Missouri for one of my novels. And there was a group of women sitting in the front row that I didn't know. And a lot of my friends from high school, college were there. And one of the women looked like she was nearing 100 years old. And they helped her up at the end, and she came up and she gave me an envelope, and I opened it, and it was pictures of that old cabin. They were the family that had purchased, you talk about 6 degrees, they were the family that had purchased the cabin from my grandparents,
oh my
and
gosh.
said how much joy it had brought them over the years. So, there's something about Arkansas, Missouri, and the Ozarks, Kansas, Oklahoma, um, you know, good people that worked hard and tried to do the best they could every single day.
Yeah, I don't, we grew up pretty simply. I spent so much time on the farm, but uh, no, I never even really thought about us being poor, you know.
You don't think about it
No, we
because
played
you think,
out outside. We were free. That's what I remember the
and
most. We were free to just run the roads on our bikes, creaking, doing all this stuff. And when I get back home, I just long for it. I
I
hate to,
agree.
yeah.
I
So
agree. And I always say the beauty is that, I learned that my social influencers weren't 18-year-old half-dressed girls on Instagram. They were my grandparents. They were my elders,
absolutely.
people that had lived a little bit and knew a lot and passed that along to you. So I
That
feel the same.
that is so important because my grandparents they practically raised me, because we went there every weekend and all summers, and it was great. And my kids never, they got to know some of the grandparents, but some of it's distance. It's hard to
Yeah,
get, back and forth.
it is.
But my kids and I really make it you know, we're social distancing, but we're not going to be away from each other too long. We have to.
You remind me of my mother. I always say
Oh, that's so
Ozark,
sweet.
Ozarks down to the south, the Southern women and Ozarks women are grand storytellers. But and that's how I learned to tell a story, was not writing really as much as it was just talking, telling me
It was
something. My mom
also
would tell
eavesdropping because
eavesdropping too. And
I would
yeah, even the
sit
book.
under the table while they play dominoes, and they'd forget. They used to call me cat soup because I couldn't pronounce ketchup right. I'd say, "Is that cat soup?" And they go, "No, that's ketchup." They call me cat soup, and they'd forget I was under there. And man, some of those stories they'd start to tell, you know, were pretty wild stuff, and I would just hang on, and and then if I made a noise, they go, "Oh, cat soup's under the table." I was very quiet as a child. I know
I have
people
to
don't.
say that's how I got to know really a lot of stories in my family was in my grandmother's kitchen, when they were cooking and having a little drink, and their sewing rooms when they forgot that I was there, and they were really, telling a lot about their lives. Because
Yeah.
Ozarks men didn't really share much, but my mom she would tell a story that would go on for days, no period, no comma. It would just, and I always say my dad would be in the other room and would go, "Land the plane, Geraldine," because it just wouldn't stop. But I love that because that influenced me greatly.
Well, and to great success too, because it's not easy telling a story. And in today's time, when there's so many stories coming out, I heard that publishers get something like 3,000 books a day,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and I don't know how many books are published a month, but thousands,
yeah.
so to break out where people know your brand and know what you're doing is pretty amazing in today's time. But
You could
that's my
book in
purpose,
the
is to
world. You
get
can,
people's books out there. Yeah.
and that's what I mean, you can write the best book in the world, but it's like having a store that nobody knows is open. I mean, people have to know the widget is out there and they can buy it. And I mean, that's part of it. I mean, You know, I do tell aspiring authors, you have to write the best book you can, but then you also have to do the other work that you would do in any other job. You have to promote it tirelessly. You have to never give up on it. Book never ends. You just keep going and going and doing everything you can. And that's what you have to do.
You know, I have a lot of people tell me, you do too many posts. And I go, well, you don't have to read them. You know, it's my page. You know, I'm trying to help authors get their books out there. So the more that come in, the more I post. And
everybody misses something. I have to say, I can post and post the same thing 10 times, and finally somebody will go, well, I didn't see that. I didn't know that. You have to work through all of the clutter out there too sometimes.
It's true. And you have to post things at different times of the day so that the not late night people see it as well as the early morning people.
You're right.
And I'm an early morning person. So sometimes it's hard for me. So I get up in the middle of the night to post stuff. So, and there's always people up. I go, what are you doing up? And they go, what are you doing?
Now.
It's just wild. It's just wild. So you've got all these books. Let's pray that we can get back out again and do this. Do you tell everybody what's the best way to connect with you? Tell us about your writing workshops. Tell us your website.
The best place to connect is www.violashipman.com or waderouse.com.
It's Rouse.
Okay. Yeah, 2 websites, one for fiction, one for my memoirs. And then if you're on social media, follow Viola Shipman on Facebook, author page. It's growing exponentially. I do my Wine, Words, and Wade every Thursday. You can follow on my website on violashipman.com, sign up for the free newsletter. I do giveaways with authors like Carolyn, Nancy Thayer, Brenda Novak, Adri. I mean, we just have things constantly going. So those are the best places. And, you know, I try to do as much as possible like you do to stay connected with everybody right now.
Well, this year I started this. I've had this channel forever on YouTube, and I didn't ever utilize it. But I thought I need one place where everybody can go to see all my video interviews. So I started. I think I've got like 40. I mean, already, and there's no stopping. I've got a bunch coming up. But I am really excited. You also are hosting this week's Breathless Bubbles and Books.
Yes.
Which is our partnering with pairing the award-winning wines with our books. So you'll be up on there tomorrow. I was traveling and trying to connect, but you know what? We all get it up there. We all get it on there. And it's just another way. What I'm finding is they're out on the West Coast. So I'm getting a lot of readership I normally wouldn't have being here in Texas in the South. And so our book club festival that we do, I'm bringing in all the big bloggers. I've got the Dolly Parton Imagination Library coming on board, you know, the Pat Conroy Center, the Wright Review, Annie McDonald,
love her.
Carolyn Leavitt and Jenna Bloom are on board with the Mighty Blaze. I'm getting all these people. So if you want to do something, we'll talk later.
I would love to.
I also want to say you're such a fashionista. So, I mean, when you came to Girlfriend Weekend, I loved your cowboy outfit because it was probably the highlight for me the whole weekend. Because you go, isn't this what all cowboys wear? And I was like, it was so fun because the big belt buckle, the Italian.
A little bit of extra flair. You got to do it.
Well, I'm the same.
Honey, I mean, I learned from the Queen.
Where do you shop now that we're home? I mean, where do you get your clothes? I mean, the raccoon head shirt.
It's really, you know, you get addicted to going online now and you're like, is it going to fit? Is it going to get here on time? So it's not, to me, it's not as fun. It's like, I love going in and trying stuff on and spending the day shopping. So I hope to get back, but it's a lot of online stuff, places that I trust and know that it'll fit, but a lot goes back.
Yeah, but you know, how much are we really wearing? I mean, for me, it's pajamas are my paint clothes because I buy very inexpensive ones from Walmart, and then when they get really, I just toss them. And I don't see anybody. I've gone 3 weeks without seeing a soul where I live.
I'm the same way. It's like nights like this, I'm glad because I can shave. I can look human again. I do my hair. I mean, I blow dry it, root up, let's go. Try to put on a little bronzer. It's hard because
I know.
I wear a coffee stained robe every single day. It's not pretty. I scare FedEx men. It's not a good look, but I'm like you. And I put on jeans. We actually had a first social distanced party on our screen porch because it warmed up, and I put on jeans, and I'm like, these don't feel normal. They don't feel right. Like buttoning things and squeezing in and putting on a shoe. It's not good. It's not good anymore.
I have a robe, a black fuzzy robe that I wear everywhere. And when my friend came to visit me from home, she said, "You do know that you've got a big swath of hot pink paint on the back of it." And I go, "No, really? Oh, well, I wore it out in the studio one day. I must have done that." And I didn't even know it.
I pretend the dog hair is a design. I'm like, it's not good anymore. But you know what? Then you can do this. You can get dressed up and hope you look okay.
You look great. You look
You
great.
do too.
I am so excited for you. I'm excited about this book. And it's been out how long? Not long at all.
Came out late April. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So it's been,
Okay.
I have to say the books have just been, how they've touched people. You know, all my novels are in 20 languages now. So they've been #1 in Germany, Czech Republic, Russia, Spain.
Wow.
I think the stories are touching people. So that's lovely.
Oh, that's just the most wonderful thing. Well, we do have, I hope she's still here. We do have someone, a couple people here. I wanted to open it up. Do you girls have any questions that you would like to ask Wade while he's here with us, reporting from Michigan? If so, speak up, turn your audio on. I'll give you a minute or two here. We've got, and one of the people that signed on said she was a little upset there weren't very many people here. I said, it doesn't matter, because when I get done with this, it's all being recorded, and I'll put it up on my Kathy L. Murphy channel on YouTube, and it goes, I send it out everywhere. I mean,
I have to say the greatest thing for these, and I do the same, is that I have had so many readers say I would never be able to make a book event because I work late, I work odd hours, my kids have soccer practice or whatever needs to be done. But this, I know I can always go back at a later date and I can watch, and it's almost, I'm sitting there right with you as if it's live. And to me these never go away. That's the beauty of it.
It's absolutely true. And that's why I love that I've got this channel now, because I go back and watch them, and I'll find that even as I'm talking to you, I'll miss things, you know, and I'll go, wow, how did I miss that? You know, so watching them over and over, they say, you know, when I was in college, they say it takes 5 times of listening to something for it to actually be completely learned. So watch them over and over, have watch parties with your book club, share them with your friends. Please like, subscribe, and there's a little bell at the top. If you click on it, you get notifications of new videos coming up, because I'll be doing the Pulpwood Queen Film Club interview pre-show with, this is amazing, Lorraine Dupree is one of the biggest television writers of the 80s and 90s. She wrote for Dynasty, Dallas. She wrote Who Shot JR. So Lorraine's going to be joining me, and she's got a new book coming out, and we've had her as Pulpwood Queen author. She's originally from New Orleans, but she'll be calling in from Beverly Hills. But, you know, I've had access to authors through doing this and the film club that I couldn't even get them to come to Girlfriend Weekend. But with this, it's actually expanded out our repertoire and our our authors, because we're going to have a lot of international authors next year. And I've reached out to all of them, but getting them here is impossible now. So with Zoom and with things like, all these StreamYard and Facebook Live and things, we can get authors voices and stories. And
Exactly right.
so I'm going to have, the girls didn't say anything, so I'm going to have you share with us, if you were looking at the big picture, and you mentioned a little bit of this earlier about how the legacy of your family stories and the lessons and the keepsakes they have. In my house, I have a bottle of dirt. That is my most precious possession, because when my grandparents both died, we went out to the home place that we called out home, and my cousin and I dug up the dirt where their house used to be.
Wow.
And we brought it home with us. And I got the idea from another author, Missy Buchanan, who did a program on the things that you have in your house that create the most. My house is filled, everything in here has a story, and that's what you're saying. So look at all the things that you've got in your house, read your books, and be inspired to tell your story, and record it. If you don't want to write it, record it. So your life's philosophies on as a writer, what is the best case scenario of what you would like to see in the future?
Oh my gosh. I have to say, I'm going to answer roundabout on that. For me, one of the most wonderful things was my literary agent called me and she said, the most interesting thing about right now is that people are reading, and publishers want books more than ever right now. And they need stories. People need stories. So, it's odd. It was, being an author can be hard, but it's also right now turned out to be one of the best things, because I can, in the midst of all of this chaos and craziness, people want to read, they're reading my books, and I can also go upstairs every day and and disappear into my work. I'm not part of the world anymore. So it's almost a win-win on both sides. I can disappear into another world and yet know that I have a great job that's continuing for years to come. And, one of my best friends from college said, who would have thunk as an author, you made the best decision ever. And I'm like, oh yeah, thanks.
I know.
And I have to say, and I don't want to sound too Pollyanna about this, but, for the future, the fact that we truly are connecting like this, and I'm doing this on a weekly basis with authors and readers and book clubs, and I'm doing it, I think, in a deeply meaningful way, is going to carry forth in incredible ways. I said it earlier, we're going to go back on tour, things will get back to normal, but we will also continue this, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
It is. It really
and we
is.
all need, I write books that I used to read with my grandmothers. I write books that remind us of what's most important in this world. Those are the little things. Those are the things that unite us more than divide us. And I'm proud of those books that a mother can share with her daughter, or a grandmother can share with her granddaughter. And so for me, moving forward, many years back when I started writing these novels, many people said, oh gosh, nobody wants that kind of old-fashioned sentimental type of novel. And I'm like, they do. And it's become, and well, I said you're an idiot, but people are really, it's connecting deeply with them. And, we need that more than ever. So I'm, for the future and for now, it's a great question. And I'm proud of all of that.
Oh, I'm proud of you. I've seen you go from, writing those nonfiction books to this amazing journey of writing fiction. And I love it, because somebody told me, don't get outside the box. But I'll tell you what, you're like me. There's no box.
There's no box. You follow you follow what calls to you. And if what calls to you, if you follow through with all of your heart and all of your talent, good things, that's need to learn. You trust what your soul is telling you.
Yes, it's true. And I thank you for taking time out of your schedule. This has been kind of like Pulpwood Queen Week, you know. But we'll see you tomorrow morning on Breathless Bubbles and Books. It's a
Can I just
Facebook
pop in
group.
here and say something?
Yes.
Okay. I live alone, and I want to tell you that these presentations, and I watch a lot of them, and Wade, I do watch yours a lot,
Oh, thank you.
and fiction and friends in fiction, and I
Yeah.
love. And because I'm alone a lot and I don't talk to people very much because of the situation, and this means more than you know.
Uh,
Oh,
Thank you for sharing that. Oh, make me cry.
Well,
I
me too.
know, but I'm just like you. I'm just like you too, because I'm here all by myself. I do have two cats. And
I have one.
yeah, they're roaming around here somewhere, meowing or whatever. But this isolation gets, it's hard,
It
you know,
is.
when you,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know,
Hard.
and so thank God we have people like Wade who is, you know, doing these with us. And we do this every Thursday night with our authors. So I hope you'll come back and join
I
us.
will.
And Wade, yours is on, tell me when yours is on.
It's on Thursday night at 6:30 Eastern, and it's called Wine, Words, and Wade. And it's kind of like Friends in Fiction, but it's just
Right.
me. And I interview a lot of best-selling authors. I really read and try to share a lot of inspiration for people.
Great. And
What I
where's
try to
that?
do.
Where do I find that? It's
It's on Viola Shipman Facebook author page.
Okay. Okay.
The
Because
the charm bracelet was amazing.
yes,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Amazing.
we all wore our charm bracelets to Girlfriend Weekend that one year that book came out. And you said each charm has a story. My best friend Heidi Tyscraber still cracks me up. We were like sophomores in high school, and she gave me a martini glass,
Gosh.
sterling silver martini glass with a little olive in it. I wanted it so bad because I thought it was so glamorous.
Grown
And
up.
it's still on my charm bracelet. So that's my favorite charm that she gave me. But you know, I've got all the inscription ones, and it's such a great idea. Did your grandmother have a cedar chest?
Yes, she had. I actually wrote a novel called The Hope Chest. She had a hope chest.
That's right. That's right.
She filled with quilts and family Bibles, scrapbooks, desert rose dishes, McCoy vases. There's
Wow.
Chris holiday ornaments, a lot of those things. Truly, my house is filled with all of that, all of it. I mean, even right behind me,
Yeah.
little duck lamp, all of those things that I love that have memories.
Well, I thank you you were the first person to buy my art to put in your Palm Springs home.
I love it.
I'm in Palm Springs. I just cannot believe all the places that my art gets to go. But thank you, Wade.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Gary.
me.
I know you're there somewhere. And thank you, and think about Girlfriend Weekend. Always Martin Luther King weekend in January, but it's going to be online this year, virtual.
Honey.
So I'd love to do something.
We'll talk.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk. And thank you for joining us, everybody. I'm going to, this is recorded. It's going to download on the Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel. So please go subscribe. And Wade, I'll be checking out yours because I think I would love it. It's at 6:30. So that means, what time is that for you? Is that the same time as mine?
That's 5:30, right? 5:30.
I might be able to catch part of it, but I'm thinking about changing this to Tuesday nights. So, because there's a lot going on Thursday nights.
And honey, don't worry, I'm going to have you on anyway in the future. So.
Okay, all right. Yay, we'll love to you, and we'll share with the world everything about your new book. So show it one more time so everybody can see it. You guys go to the Heirloom Garden by Viola Shipman and check out all his books. And I'm telling you, they're great. So bye for now. Bye. We'll see you next time. Adios.